Does the idea of looking at a spreadsheet turn you off budgeting instantly? Do you really want to get out of debt and save money, but does the thought of not having any fun or excitement scare you more than your last credit card statement? Well, you're not alone. The good news is there is an easier way to save money while still allowing you to live your life. And you won't need a spreadsheet to review every minor expense or need to give up on having all of your fun. It's called the bucket method. It was made popular by an Australian author, Scott Pape, known as the Barefoot Investor, who wrote a popular book about personal finance. In short, a bucket is a bank account with a purpose. All you need to do is fill it up on payday and spend. Yes, that's right, permission to spend. In this video, I will take a closer look at the Barefoot Investor's idea for setting up your buckets, and I'll share the lessons I learned along the way with setting it up. In the past, I've used a number of methods for budgeting and planning, including using complex spreadsheets in Excel. The problem with these methods is it takes time, and you can easily get caught up in the detail. I switched to this bucket method about 2 years ago, not because of any financial difficulty, but because it was so simple to use. I love the bucket method as it allows both you and your spouse to know your current financial position in seconds after looking at your bank balance, with no further analysis required. It is important to point out here that this method does not use credit cards. Instead, all of the spending is from cash that you earn, and you will only use debit cards to access that cash from your bank accounts. You will learn from this method that there is no need for credit cards, which can be a debt trap for millions of people around the world. The Barefoot Investor's Bucket method requires a couple or a single person to set up multiple bank accounts to organize their buckets into 3 simple categories, which are Blow, Mojo, Grow. The Blow bucket is then broken down into 4 smaller buckets, which are Daily Expenses, Splurge, Smile, and Fire Extinguisher. If you use online banking, then most banks now allow you to give your accounts a nickname, so you can call these accounts whatever names you like to make it easier to remember what they are used for. On your debit cards, you can also write the name with a permanent marker, so it comes in handy when you're at the checkout to know which one to use. The Barefoot Investor recommends setting the first 2 buckets as normal transaction or checking accounts with their own separate debit card. The final 2 should be high interest savings account. Your regular pay is required to be deposited into each of these accounts by your employer according to a set amount that you have given them. However, if your employer can't deposit into multiple accounts, or you don't want them to do that for you, then you can have all your salary or wage deposited into your daily expense account. And then you can schedule an automatic bank transfer to the other 3 accounts to your own instructions, which works just the same. The Barefoot Investor provides these recommendations for how much to allocate as a percentage of your income, or what is deposited into your account by your employer. These percentages may not work for you straight away, and you'll need to take a close look at what you're spending before deciding on an allocation you are happy with. The book suggests that if you can't work within these default allocations, you might be living beyond your means and that you should consider cutting back or earning more income to ensure you can avoid going into bad debt and all the problems that go with that. The money in the daily expense bucket is intended to pay for the important bills, which are essential, like living allowances, rent, loan repayments, utilities, food, insurance. About 60% should be staying in this account to pay for these types of expenses. Next, there is the splurge bucket, which is a bucket that you can use to spend on anything you want that is not essential. About 10% should go to this account, and it will cover things like entertainment, dining out, drinks with friends, concert tickets, and so forth. However, once the money in this bucket is gone, there is meant to be no more spending until your next paycheck. If you don't spend it all before the next paycheck, you can use it in the next month. This allows guilt-free spending, which you can track by simply looking at the balance before you decide to spend. If you see there's no money left, you know you need to hold back spending until the next payday. You can spend it all in one week or spread it out over many weeks. The choice is yours. Just don't use credit cards or any other buckets for this type of expenses. The small bucket is similar to your splurge account, where it is also used for something fun but not essential, except it is much higher in value and takes you time to save up for. Its main purpose is to be used for things that make you smile, and you look forward to as a reward. Every time you see this bucket grow, you will feel good and you'll stay motivated to keep saving. Allocate about 10% to this bucket too. This bucket could be used for expensive holidays, a wedding, a big birthday party, or even a new car. Basically anything that you want that makes you smile when you picture yourself having that one thing somewhere in the future. Lastly, from the blow bucket, there is the important fire extinguisher bucket, which serves as a temporary savings bucket. It is used to help put out the financial fires in your life, or in other words, keep you away from using credit cards forever. It is expected to be used first to cover any cash shortages from your other buckets as you start out. A simple transfer from this account can be made at any time to wherever it needs to go. The book suggests allocating the balance of whatever you have left over, which should be about 20%. Once those cash shortage problems are gone, then you can schedule an automatic bank transfer to pay off those lingering credit card or personal loan debts faster until they are gone. The Barefoot Investor recommends starting with the smallest debt first and working your way up until they are all gone. One of the first things you are meant to use your fire extinguisher bucket for is saving your first $1,000 and transferring it to your Mojo bucket, which is a fifth bucket or savings account. This is even before paying off credit card debt. This is because it gives you confidence that you can save and gives you a buffer from any cash shortages that you ever find yourself in. Once the credit card debts are paid off, a new automatic bank transfer is meant to be scheduled to build up a balance in the Mojo bucket, which is meant to have a balance to cover up to 6 months of normal expenses. With this Mojo bucket, you get the feeling of safety knowing you can cover an emergency if something goes badly wrong, like a job loss or an illness. This bucket should rarely ever be touched and should be kept at a different bank to avoid any temptation when you see it. Once the Mojo account is full, you can then use the cash piling up in your fire extinguisher account to transfer money towards your home loan as extra repayments, if you have one, and pay off the bank loan early. If you don't have a home loan and are looking to buy a home, then you can leave the money in the fire extinguisher and use that money when the time is right. Instead of extra home loan repayments, you could then transfer these into your Grow bucket. The Grow bucket is not a bank account as such, as your money will not grow very fast in a savings account in good times or bad because of inflation. Instead, the Grow bucket could consist of a number of things, including a share brokerage account, where you buy shares in your own name, or a retirement account like superannuation, or a 401k for our US friends. Basically, it is putting extra money aside where it will grow to support you later in life when your ability to earn an income begins to fade. If you have any emergencies in your finances, then your activities in your Grow bucket are the first thing that is stopped as you divert the money back to put out those financial fires. Only when those fires are put out and your other buckets are filled up again would you continue to fill up the Grow bucket. I have found the bucket system to be a great way for people who hate to budget to get ahead with their finances without feeling like they are trapped or limited. I found it a great way to talk about finances without getting stuck on the detail or over-analyzing every little thing and missing the bigger picture. However, the transition to multiple bank accounts did not come without its challenges, and a few things that I found on the way were: setting up 5 bank accounts didn't seem like a good idea at first when I already had an existing home mortgage to pay. To me, putting extra savings into a transaction or high interest savings account seemed like I would pay more non-deductible interest on my home loan. Instead of creating new accounts, my existing bank account allowed me to set up to 10 everyday offset accounts for no additional cost, and I could link each account with its own debit card. Having multiple debit cards for multiple bank accounts for spending on different expense types can get confusing, and it takes time to get used to. We found after a year that the daily expense account and the splurge account merged together somewhat over time as we kept spending money from different buckets, as we both had different interpretations of what is a splurge and what is a daily expense. We also found it hard to find out how much of your income should be allocated to each bucket. The Barefoot Investor provides his recommendations, but I can see most would initially struggle with the right balance at the start, particularly if you are spending more than you earn, which is what credit cards allow you to do so easily. Next, we didn't know what to do with our Grow bucket. There are a lot of options available, and the question that I asked myself for a long time was, should I pay off the home loan early or invest in shares? The Barefoot Investor recommends to do both. However, it is not for everyone and is really what you are most comfortable with. I wondered about what to invest in and then what should I buy and how do I invest. This is something that I spent a lot of time researching about, and I encourage you to take as much time as you need to really understand what you're investing in and why you're doing it before you commit. I've included a link to the Barefoot Investor's popular book in the description of this video. If you want to understand budgeting and tracking your expenses automatically from your online bank in Excel, then you can watch these videos on your screen now.